Should you watch Samurai Champloo in 2022? Oh, you mean the anime about the random girl that hires two random samurais so she can find the random samurai? Well, it kinda depends. You see, the show suffers from a very generic main storyline, and on top of that, it doesn't even take it seriously. Yes, it is an episodic anime, so every episode is gonna be its own thing while barely even moving the main plot forward. So, as you would imagine, it gets really boring pretty fast, especially with how forgettable a lot of these episodes can be. And on top of that, the main three characters aren't exactly the most interesting bunch. They're like pretty generic main characters. They're not really bad per se, they're just your average day of a mill main characters. They're just like nothing too special enough for them to carry the anime on their back. Now, before I jump into any conclusions, let me get into talking about the good things, because it's not all bad, of course. It also has some good sides to it. So for starters, the animation is still absolutely top tier. For a title that goes all the way back to 2004 to still look this good nowadays, I'd say that's pretty respectable if anything. Not to mention that the music in this anime is also fantastic. I think I like the music in this anime more than I like the anime itself. Unironically, it is just absolutely so good. I really love the music in this show. It just adds up to the whole atmosphere of the show and gives it these really nice vibes. But of course, I still wouldn't, go as far as tell someone to watch an anime just because it has like good music and animation. I mean, I probably would watch something like that just because of that. But in general, like, you wouldn't just tell someone to watch a show because of that. Which brings me back to the episodic nature of this anime. Now, while the main plot was pretty lame and disappointing, and a lot of these episodes were pretty forgettable, like I mentioned before, there are still some really good stories that this show tells with really good characters in them. It also kind of explores a lot of the darker themed stories, and I really enjoyed that side of the show. That was really nice. So essentially it's kind of a mixed bag, I would say. You have some really good stories in there, some really pointless ones, and a sprinkle of filler on top of it. So with that, we kind of go full circle, and we're just back to the question, is it still worth watching in 2022? Is it good? And I'd say the show still holds up till this day. It does, of course, have some shortcomings, but that's kind of a given with how old it is. So overall, here's my verdict on this. Picture this anime as a journey rather than a story that you're following through. So if you binge watch it in a one go, it's gonna feel really forced and boring. But if you take your time with it and watch it like an episode or two a day, maybe even 3, it comes off way more enjoyable and worth the while. Especially since it's kind of episodic, so there are barely any cliffhangers, and it's really easy to just watch an episode or 2 and then go on doing other stuff without feeling the need that you need to keep watching. So with that being in mind, I would say yes, it is worth watching as a sideshow in the background. My final score for this anime was a solid 7 out of 10. I think I probably would have given this show a better score had I watched it back in its prime time. Honestly, I can see how it was a good show. I still think it is a good show, but it's just like a lot of the things that made it good back then are kind of normal nowadays. So it's really hard to just like say it's a great anime nowadays. But it's still absolutely still worth watching, as I said. So with that being said, I guess that's right about the end of this video. Hopefully it was helpful, and I'll see you in the next one.